Welcome to the NBA by Jimmy High Roller. It's been ages since we've done a Jimmy High Roller video. His date has always been very good. I'm interested to see what
Reloading for his snitches. Why are you snitching at it?
Nah, he's not snitching. That would be silly. Before we get into the video, guys.
Make sure you smash that subscribe and follow button if you haven't already.
Let's go. And Fat's done her special kick the wire out every time she sits.
Whoopsie daisy.
1 second, guys.
Whoopsie. Okay.
There we go. All the Twitter X messages, boy.
You looks like
what a flop.
Shit. Mixed together, my dog. That's how good you watching the game. You're not watching the games, Pete. That's how good
you ain't watching the game, Fats.
Huh?
That's what he said. You ain't watching the game.
My brothers, it's a new NBA season, and you know what that means. New faces, new contenders, and a new batch of some of the most appalling takes you've ever seen in your life. And today, we're gonna take a look at some of these takes. The good, the bad, and the downright atrocious.
Go on, Jimmy, show us. Let's hear these takes.
Today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek. With the NBA season here, check out SeatGeek to handle all of your tickets. Now, I've included best deal. My ticket, download the app, 10% upon my dark places media for the hottest takes I could find. An endeavor that took me to some dark places, but a sacrifice I'm willing to make. I found some good ones, and I found some other ones. And among these hot takes, here are some of the more interesting ones I came across. Starting with this fan who says Victor Wembanyama will not only win Defensive Player of the Year this season, he will win it for the next 7 seasons in a row.
Right, that's a hot take, but Wemby's been playing though. Wemby's been on a mad one. Yeah. Chat, what's your thoughts on that?
I have to say, Wemby, after watching these past few games, he's one of my favourite players.
You know what it is? This video came out, I think, last week, like just before the season. I think it happened like as the season started and he maybe not even played a game yet, or around the time he played the first game. Now, this hot take is actually looking genuine now.
And as crazy as this sounds, I feel like it's not even out of the realm of possibility. At the moment, Victor's preseason odds for Defensive Player of the Year are -175.
Oh my God.
The kid is favored over the rest of the NBA. And looking at his progression and his numbers from last season, it's clear why he's the heavy favorite. Here are the players with the highest stocks per game over the last decade. That's of course steals and blocks combined. And for even the biggest stat stuffers, averaging 3 stocks a game is a number that will earn you a DPOY, if not at the least, get you in contention. The players who achieve this mark are usually defensively versatile big men, and the largest total over the last decade belonging to Hassan Whiteside in 2016, with 4.2 stocks per game. Until Wemby blew that and every other total out of the water, with 4.8 stocks per game.
Wemby.
Oh wait, those were his stocks as a rookie. Here's his number from last season. But stocks, although enough to persuade some voters, aren't necessarily a great measure of a player's defensive impact. What are good measures, however, are metrics like crafted defensive plus-minus and on-off splits. How big of an impact are you making on defense, and how does your team perform when you're on the court versus off the court? And here is every player in the league last season who logged at least 1,000 minutes charted according to those two metrics. This group here in the top right corner are the players that thrived in both of those defensive metrics.
That's my boy, Draymond. That's my boy.
Alex Caruso, and of course, Victor Wembanyama. The best defensive player in the league in just his 2nd season. But in the future, Wemby will be competing.
That is not 2nd season and you're the best defensive player in the league. His height, I believe, contributes towards it, but he's very talented as well, and he's not afraid to go in for the hard block, which he's been doing in the last couple of games. Very good player, man.
It's not just his height, though.
Yeah, it's not just his height.
Yeah,
it's not solely his height.
It's not just his height. The guy can play. Like I said, when we reacted to the tallest NBA players, a lot of them couldn't play.
Yeah, they were bad as hell.
Yeah, but Wemby's really good at playing.
Like, he blocked Zion that time twice. He done like a double block, like bam, bam, bam.
Against his peers, the players his age. After all, the kid is only 21 years old. So if we limit this chart to players no older than 25, well, yeah.
Superstar.
Of course, winning the award once and winning it 7 times in a row are two completely different things. Even if a player deserves an award, voters' fatigue may end up being his biggest obstacle. However, Wemby's gap on the field may just be big enough to overcome this. In a recent survey, GMs across the NBA were asked who they felt was the best defensive player in the league. And to no one's surprise, it was Victor Wembanyama, winning 80% of the votes. Now, what
That's
is surprising
loads.
is that in the 23 years that this survey has been conducted, no player before Wemby has ever been regarded as the best defender in the league with such an overwhelming majority. The highest Giannis ever got was 48% of the votes. The highest Ben Wallace ever got was 38%. KG,
He's dominating the
44%,
votes.
Kawhi, 67%. Dwight Howard, arguably the greatest defender of the 21st century, managed to get 78% of the votes after winning his 3rd straight DPOY. And then there's Victor, entering just his 3rd season in the league. So if winning the award is just as much about convincing fans and voters of your merits as it is about the actual impact you have on the game, then you might as well ship the award to Wemby's house right now.
Do
But
it.
the one thing that could prevent him from sweeping this award for the foreseeable future is the very reason why he didn't win it last season. The kid was dealing with an injury, he missed too many games, and he was ineligible for the award.
That's the problem. I think there's am I right to say, guys, there's an eligibility criteria where you have to play a certain amount of games to even be allowed. So even though he was clearly...
Yeah, look, 65 games in order to
it says it right there, yeah. 65. That's sad.
And he only played 46.
Damn. But you know, that's motivation to say, you know what, I need to do... I know, obviously, injury you can't control sometimes, but he's going to be more motivated to say, I could have won it last year. Like, that's such a big thing at that age. He just needs to not get injured.
It's hard.
Which
not
is
to.
a very
hard,
real
yeah.
possibility as to why he may not end up winning it in future seasons. But as long as he's got 2 good knees and an 8-foot wingspan, it's hard to imagine anyone else earning the award over him for quite a while. So as crazy as this claim looks, this is a good take. Now this next take comes from Bill Simmons in a recent podcast he did
Jokic.
with Zach Lowe discussing the future of Nikola Jokic's legacy if things fall in his favor this season.
Is there a star player with a bigger legacy shift brewing on a pot on the stove than Jokic this year? Because if they win the title and he wins MVP again, I think he's indisputably one of the best 10 players ever. I think that has to be the outcome. I just don't see how he's not on a top 10 list after that. He has to be.
But if
Every
he
year.
gets the second one, the names he's next to immediately, not next to like, oh, 3 more years, it's next to immediately are like the holy pantheon of NBA players.
He has to be with Bird and Magic at that point.
Yeah.
He's next to.
Damn. Next to Bird and Magic. Chat, what's your thoughts? Fats, what's
He's
your
an
thoughts?
elite player. I can't
He
lie.
is elite, I will say that.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Because we saw the thing where when the games he wasn't playing because he was injured for the Nuggets, their team went from like second best or whatever to like last. Then OKC, when SGA wasn't playing, their team was still stable, like maybe 5th or something. So like Jokic is doing too much carrying on that team. It's actually crazy.
them.
Yeah.
Now, there's a really big if going on here. If Jokic can win another title this season, which in that case would undoubtedly be paired with a finals MVP and another regular season MVP to go along with it, would that make him not just top 10 all time, but even creeping near top 5 territory, right up there with Bird and Magic?
That's
and
crazy.
To me, this is a no-brainer. But to my surprise, this was a scorching take for some fans. Many fans would still have him outside of the top 10, somewhere between 12 and 18, which is absolutely absurd. It's
12
tough
and
to make a
18.
top 10 list that's agreed upon, but there is a consensus top 12 that pretty much every fan agrees on. And it's
Who's
these
12?
12
Let's see.
players in no particular order.
So to try and put him like near Shaq, LeBron and that, if that list is what people are saying, it's kind of wild. And LeBron being that low, in my opinion, is kind of wild as well. Just an opinion, guys. Don't slate me for that.
And when you compare Jokic's numbers and accomplishments with these guys, assuming he pulls off the season Simmons described, Jokic clearly belongs in.
Oh, it's no order. Sorry, guys. Sorry, my bad. I was about to say, okay. What, do you think Jokic can fit in with these names? What do you think, Fats? Hey, let me move this for the chat. That's the list, guys. That's kind of wild, you know. Not saying he can't. I'm not saying he can't, but these are some legendary names.
I think
right
he
there.
can.
He's a very good player, Jokic.
Yeah.
Damn, that list is serious.
He's
though.
an outstanding player.
That list is elite, man.
Yeah.
This group, and even ahead of a handful of them. There's only 3 players in NBA history who have more than 4 MVPs. Only 5 players in NBA history who have more than 2 Finals MVPs. And in terms of statistical impact, Jokic's numbers are just flat out better than anyone's. He's now the all-time leader in virtually every advanced metric and increasing his lead on the field with each season. The only thing holding him back from crashing the party at this point is championships. But that is a huge if. Winning a title is the toughest thing to do in the sport. Winning an MVP in the same season, even rarer. But a historic season like this may be in the cards for Jokic in 2026. After a busy offseason, the Nuggets have now surrounded Jokic with arguably the best roster he's had in his career. They've added depth at the center spot with Valanciunas, they've bolstered their shooting with Tim Hardaway Jr., and they've upgraded their starting lineup with the addition of Cam Johnson. Moves that have made them one of the favorites to win the title this season, with better odds than they've had in any season since their title run in 2023. And in terms of an MVP, there is no player more perpetual and inevitable than Jokic. The guy always plays, his numbers are insane, and they haven't budged in a half a decade. His team looks to be better, so they're set up nicely to grab a top seed. And after averaging a 30-point triple-double last season and still coming up short in the MVP race, I wouldn't be surprised if the MVP narrative is in his favor this season. Similar to what happened in 2024 after losing to Embiid in the previous season. And pretty much in
That's mad though, because Embiid and SGA got above him, but
Yeah.
on both seasons, arguably, he could have got it, man.
any other scenario, it would be comical to hint at a player having a historic season like this. But this is prime Nikola Jokic we're talking about, coming off the best individual season of his career with possibly the best roster of his career. And if he could pull it off, I agree with Bill. He would undeniably be a top 10 player of all time with the likes of Bird and Magic. This is a great take. Now, this next take comes from a fan who says Joel Embiid will go down as the biggest what if in NBA history.
If
And
he didn't
although
get
I don't
injured.
agree with this
Yes.
take, it is nice to see some Embiid appreciation every once in a while. Joel Embiid has been dragged down by injuries about as much as any superstar of the 21st century, even
crazy.
to the extent where the word retirement was being thrown around 18 months after he won an MVP. And after recent physical evaluations, it appears that we will unfortunately never see MVP caliber Embiid again. Now, I understand why a lot of people couldn't care less about the man's game. His
Oh.
headache-inducing play style,
He's
the
pissed.
annual playoff regression, the fact that he's intentionally ducked Jokic on numerous occasions. There's always something going on with Embiid. But I could recognize these faults and still see that the guy is one of the most dominant forces of his generation. This is a player who averaged 32 and 11 a night for a 4-season stretch, averaged more points than minutes for an entire season. The only player to do this since Wilt Chamberlain. Less than 2 years ago, Embiid had a 23-game stretch where he
Damn.
averaged 40 points a game
Holy
on
shit.
69% true shooting. 40 a game. A stretch that included a 40-piece on Jokic, a 50-piece on Gobert, and a 70-point, 18-rebound bomb
He's
on
so good.
Wemby. When the man is healthy, he is legitimately unguardable. He's also one of the few offensive juggernauts that not only has the capacity to anchor a defense, but is willing to do it. Two-way impact statistically on par with Jokic for consecutive seasons. Somewhere buried under all that foul baiting, showboating, and grifting is a player who could dominate the game without doing any of that. But with that being said, I don't think Embiid can be the biggest what if of all time for all of those reasons. We have already seen
The issue is, you can be an amazing player. You could be the best. You could be the next Michael Jordan. But if you're barely playing because of injury, like what? That is a bit of a wasted talent because you're on the bench recovering like 90% of the season. And that's what's happening here. Like he's amazing when he plays, but when you don't play, it's a big chunk of the season gone.
Like Zion.
Yeah, he's like basically
Zion
similar to
was
Zion.
Zion had potential to be a legendary player,
Yeah.
but things just happened.
him at the peak of his powers for multiple seasons. Insane individual numbers that never culminated into any tangible success in the postseason. Whereas other big what-ifs like Derrick
Derrick
Rose
Rose.
and Bill
Rose,
Russell were
legend.
league MVPs with playoff success, but sustained career-altering injuries before they even hit their peak. They were proven formulas who got hurt the moment they were impacting the league. There's also the what-ifs in the form of players who had all the potential in the world, but got hurt before they could even tap into it. Greg Oden, Penny Hardaway, Hardaway, Brandon Roy, Grant Hill, reduced to a fraction of their abilities so early in their careers, all we were left wondering is what if they hadn't gotten hurt? Having a near career-ending injury just 33 games after hoisting an MVP trophy will certainly get your name thrown into some what-if conversations. But sustaining that injury at 30 is a lot different than sustaining it at 23. For the better part of a decade, we saw the extent to which Embiid could dominate games, so there really isn't much what-if left in the tank. If anything, I would put him in the "it's a shame this guy couldn't stay healthy" category, with players like Tracy McGrady, Kawhi Leonard, Yao Ming, Amari Stoudemire, all-time talents who met their potential but couldn't put it together for more than a season or two at a time without their bodies failing.
That list was good by Jimmy, because we reacted to all of them and it was literally injury that was just holding all of them back.
Yeah.
Literally. So he fit in perfect with them, I'm not going to lie.
Joel Embiid is prolifically underappreciated as a player, but I don't think he's nearly the biggest what-if in NBA history. Now, our last take comes from a fan who says the NBA is too talented, stating that the globalization of the game, the increased talent pool, and the new second apron have made teams impatient and left a lot of NBA caliber players out of a job. And although I understand the sentiment, and the NBA is certainly the most talented it's ever been, I don't think the NBA is too talented. The reason why we're now seeing so many talented, capable players miss out on roster spots is because not only has the floor for NBA talent increased drastically over the last decade, but because teams have also gotten drastically smarter over the last decade. Talent alone, for the most part, is no longer enough to keep a spot in the league. Organizations are now prioritizing things like fit and a player's role and how they can contribute and blend into a system over sheer talent and skill set. And regardless of how talented you are, unless you're a superstar, if you aren't a good fit, you won't have a place in the league. This has led to a lot of ultra-talented players completely sitting out of lineups or getting relegated to the G League or overseas, and fans asking, how is that guy not in the league?
It's a valid point, man. You, as a manager or as a company owner for the NBA, they got to think about their investment. All right, we're going to invest in this amazing player, but he sits out 70% of the season because he's injured for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
What are the odds it's going to happen again our season? And we're risking how many $1 million to get him on board? Might have to trade 3 sick, healthy players on top of that. Is it worth it? Reality is no, it's a gamble. And it's like, you know what I'm saying?
That's true.
That's the issue. And that's why like people like Curry and
that's what happened with Zion.
They renewed his contract.
They what?
When they renewed his contract, but they said you have to stay under a certain weight.
Yeah.
That's like their way of trying to save it.
Yeah.
But it's madness.
But he was on the bench most of the time as well. He couldn't play.
I think he was out basically the whole season, practically. Like close to it.
Damn.
And the answer usually isn't that they weren't good enough. It's that they weren't a good fit. The inverse of this is also true. Players of lesser talent can end up getting roster spots these days because they may have a specific skill set that fits what a team needs, and they're willing to play into that role. There used to be a time where you could say with confidence that the most talented basketball players in the world were all in the NBA. In fact, before the boom of foreign talent in an expansion league, you could argue that there was a time where the NBA had more roster spots than there were NBA caliber players. But this is no longer the case. Today, there are more players with NBA talent than there are NBA jobs, and more NBA level players not in the NBA than ever before. And while the talent pool continues to grow seemingly exponentially, the number of roster spots has stayed the same. But you can still find examples today of players who are so talented: DeAndre Ayton, Russell Westbrook, Ben Simmons, and on the upper end, Jordan Poole, D'Angelo Russell, Zach LaVine, that teams are more than happy to pay up and have them on their roster, regardless of if their playstyle or skill set is conducive to the system. And this approach just isn't good enough to win games in today's NBA. And I think as teams continue to get smarter, we'll see less of this and see even more talent leak out of the NBA. Recently on his podcast, Jaylen Brown had a great take on this.
There's so many talented players that are not in the NBA. NBA, I don't think, is the best talent in the world currently right now. They're taking like the utility guy draft approach, where they just drafting guys that they know are not going to be stars, but will be great role players to develop. So the actually most talented players, it's a lot of talented guys that's not in the NBA right now.
I agree.
It's a good take. I agree to disagree. Like I agree with it, but at the same time, you have to be at a very high level to be in the NBA. I get you, they may not be taking on the best of the best, but the best of the best might not fit in certain play styles of teams. So it's not an all-star team. Do you know what I mean? They're not just trying to get every best player. Like, you know, when you said if you're a manager of Golden State, you'll have okay, you have every big name in the same team.
I would have Wemby, I would have Curry, KD. Anyway, let's not get into that.
So
back to your
what
point,
they're saying is that is not working these days. Like, you got to think about how you could build a team around your star and how you need role players that fit in certain positions. That Butler is such a good fill for Golden State because he's a work animal, and that's what they need. The team's getting older. They need someone to put the weight on a little bit, and Butler was like, I'll take that responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough.
And Butler, I'm happy you came to Golden State. We are very happy to have you there.
All right, manager Fats.
The game has changed. I think in the 90s and the 2000s, the best players was in the league. Yeah. Nowadays, in the 2020s, that is not the case.
Talent will always be the great filter of the NBA. It decides who gets a chance and who doesn't. But fit and cohesion are more important now than ever before. So I don't think the NBA is too talented. Teams have just shifted their priorities, and talent alone is no longer enough to make it in the league. But I can appreciate this take, and let me know what you think. Share your hot takes in the comments below. And as always, the hotter, the better.
Good video by Jimmy High Roller, man. I need to call him Jimmy Butler. Good video, a lot of data, interesting takes.
All his videos are always really good.
Very good takes.